All right, we are live on Halftime Hits. Took a week break. We are back. I am Jonathan at JB on Broad, joined by my co-host of the Coach's Corner at Ryan on Broadway, Mr. Ryan Watson.
Hello,
Ryan, how
all.
are you doing?
I'm good, man. It's after that start. I was wondering if we were going to have a whole happy show here or what was going to happen. And thankfully, the Mike Vrabel Titans again find a way to stick in games and to claw back in it.
Absolutely. So as always, you can check out our great content at broadwaysportsmedia.com. We have a special guest on Halftime Hits. I don't know if I should bring him on. It should be weird. We're going to get to him in about 10 seconds. I'm going to do the introduction here. So broadwaysportsmedia.com, you can check out our great merchandise. If you want to get in on the commentary, make sure you're joining from Facebook and on YouTube. Sorry, we don't control Twitter's policies there. So happy Halloween to everybody. It's a spooky Sunday. We're going to get 12 minutes in here. And as spooky, we're going to bring in a ghost right here, a ghost to be named Mr. Zach. Zach, thank you for joining us. What inspired you to join us this halftime?
Well, basically, I put it into the chat about 3 hours ago that I was going to be available for both of them, and nobody responded. And I was actually getting in to start the show because I didn't know if anybody was going to do the show today.
There we are.
Well, we appreciate you joining here as always. So let's talk about that first half. Obviously, the Titans come out. They're seeing ghosts all afternoon. So is Ryan Tannehill. And what you saw from the Titans offense come out slow. The Colts come out knowing that this is a must-win game for the Colts for their season. They come down. They really get a 14-0 start to the game, and it kind of starts to feel like this game is going to get away from the Titans. Ryan, what'd you see?
Yeah, so it's talk about when to start hard. So last week the Titans started hot against the Chiefs and really had one of the best games they could have had. Turned that around this week where the Colts are basically doing the same thing to the Titans and starting about as perfect as you can. The Titans kind of peeing down their leg a little bit, letting a blown coverage go where Molden didn't go out or Jenkins didn't go out to cover Taylor, and he's down the sidelines for a big game to start the drive. Then you turn it around, the Titans get it back after the touchdown, have to stay in the game. Tannehill with interception gives the Colts a short field, and the Colts are able to convert it to start 14-0. And I stayed away from Twitter, but I can almost hear it now. The whole "woe is me," the game's over, the route is on, all those tweets, But again, as bad as the start was, the Titans able to rebound a little bit and put drives together and finally start stopping the Colts. And I will say this about the Titans on defense: they are stopping them on third down. It's just Colts going on for fourth a lot, sustaining their drives, and you just gotta have to stick with it.
Yeah, I've already got one the game is over tweet bookmarked, so I can send it to Rob on Broadway for the terrible Titans Twitter takes, just in case that the Titans do pull out this win, which it looks like they're carrying a lot of momentum. Good stop on this final drive to only limit the Colts to 3 points.
Definitely.
You couldn't have asked for anything better. They almost had 2 turnovers too. So I'm kind of feeling good about this team heading into halftime.
For sure.
Yeah, you're in one of those situations where the Titans are lucky to be where they're at, but at the same time, the Colts are definitely all in on this game. Like they've had a couple breaks go their way, being the Titans with the interception fumble. I think I put on Twitter there. It's a great job by Tannehill to pick up the first down with an interception there. And it's one of those where Tannehill's pressing a little bit. He's not having his greatest game. Derrick Henry is not breaking off huge runs, but the defense is not playing poorly. This as the analytics guy here, Zach, you're one of those two. I don't want to. Normally I can say that it's no problem.
I'm not now the analytics person.
Now I have to contextualize it because Zach is joining
I'm
us.
anti-analytics though now. I'm not on analytics. DVOA, PFF grades, throw them in the trash.
Love it. So, when you see what the Colts are doing, going for it on fourth down on those, it's one of those you sit there and you say, if you just took the third down percentage for this game, the Titans are doing great.
Yeah.
Absolutely spectacular. The Colts are all in, though, going for it on fourth down, knowing that this game, it's not their season, but it's their division. It's the chance for them to win the division. So they're playing that way. The Titans really have to match that intensity, and they're in a position. They're lucky to be where they're at, but now you've kind of rode that intensity that the Colts came into this game with. So, Ryan, what do you want to see them change up here, kind of in the second half, based on what you've seen so far?
Change up. Tannehill's just got to play within himself and stop taking these chances. I mean, obviously he has the pressure, and I know it turned out, but I think that they need to go back to Henry a little bit, keep utilizing the tight ends because the middle of the field is wide open. Find a way to get some of these other receivers on some crossers and try to take advantage of what the culture given to them on offense there. But that's all got to start with. You got to start keep working Henry. Don't go away from it. I don't think they will, because Henry gets stronger as games goes on. I've already seen some tweets about how overrated Henry is and everything. I'm like, all right, if you've never seen Derrick Henry play a football game before, it's going to be building. And I saw some positive things there at the end of the half with him breaking off a 9-yard run, a 6-yard run. He's starting to lean forward. Those things are starting to pop for him. So I expect him to keep giving it to Henry and have him keep going. Offensive line doing good. They've got to clean up the pass protection, because on that one of those interceptions, Nate Davis let his man go right around him in Tannehill's face. Now, there was some outside pressure as well, but Tannehill had nowhere to go, and he tries to make a play and threw it to the dropping defensive lineman. So you got to clean those things up for them to go forward. On defense, just keep doing what you're doing. You're getting to wins. You got to get to them a little more and keep stopping them on third down, and they'll start second guessing themselves and stop going for fourth so much, or don't let them get to 4th and 2 and make it a harder decision.
Yeah, I would like to see them manufacture some AJ Brown touches in this
Yep.
second half. I obviously the one target that he's gotten, and it went for a touchdown, right? I mean, AJ Brown looks like to be AJ Brown of old, so we got to get him more involved. I also want to see the Titans defensive line and their outside linebackers set the edge better. This is the worst game I've ever seen the Titans defense play in a long, long time, where they are just not setting the edge. I don't know what's going on, but they gotta improve that. And that seems like it could be pretty much an easy fix, even though there have been a lot of missed holding calls here and there. But the Titans have also gotten a couple holding calls their way that probably shouldn't have been called.
Yeah. I'd say Taylor's like a holding call away from having a huge game first half here. So
right.
You're lucky.
And I would definitely say, and just real quick, I'm sorry, just keep attacking the middle of the field, but they're doing that in the first half to go on the outside. And so I agree with Ryan, you should continue going up the middle of the field, but there needs to be some Derrick Henry outside runs to either the left or the right. Because I think you're going to see some outside zone runs to the left, because they've been either going up the middle or to the right in this first half, and they're really setting the Colts up, I think, to for a big Henry run later.
You climb up to that middle linebacker, because that's one of the tosses looked like he was going to pop for a big game, and all of a sudden they couldn't get up to a Kiki.
We got 12 minutes, Coach. Come on.
Sorry.
Come on.
Got to get to the linebacker.
So, I see the comment here from Facebook talking about, I wonder why AJ isn't more involved, because I think this is the problem whenever Julio is injured in these games. If you're a defense, and the Colts are a competent defense, is if you're going to take any receiver away, you're taking AJ away and saying, can Marcus Johnson, can Jeff Swain, Michael Pruitt, can those guys beat you? I didn't even mention Ferkser. That tells you how kind of a disappointing of a season Ferkser's having so far. He's supposed to be the big pass catcher coming in here. So on offense, look, AJ Brown, he has given you something, and that's the one guy I think that the Colts are trying to take away outside of stacking the box against Derrick Henry. So ultimately, I think they just got to keep working through those second guys, and they got to make plays. Let's switch to the defensive side, where I think really you have seen the front four have made some plays, but have not been as dominant as they've been the last couple of weeks. And ultimately, I put it out on Twitter, this is a defense that is riddled with injuries, and ultimately that's going to show through from time to time. You're going to have to take your lumps here or there, and where you sit there and say they're not setting the edge, I sit there and say when you don't have your starters out there, you got to pick your poison a little bit, and you don't want to get carved up on those short passes, which is what the Colts and Reich like to do so much. So, Ryan, what would you like to see on the defensive side?
I mix it up a little bit too. I think you throw a little more twists and a little more stunts then, and then Wentz make him uncomfortable, because I think he's been able to stand back there. They have been getting to him a little bit, but like you just said, there needs to be a little more. So I'd like to see them, especially with some deficiencies you have on the backside, take some chances here and go after him and try to make it really uncomfortable for him. Maybe you can force him, because let's not pretend like Wentz isn't incapable of making a questionable throw or two. In fact, a couple of these he had wide open that he overthrew or underthrew horribly. So he's very capable of making those turnovers too. So put some pressure on him. See if you can get him to force one and give one to you and take one away. Because I love the Titans to drive it down, then force a pick six or something from Wentz here to start the third quarter.
Look, he's given you a couple opportunities already.
Yep.
They have not taken advantage of it on the defensive side yet. I mean, even Chris Jackson, I looked at him, I thought he was putting his hands on his helmet because he was getting a PI called on him. Instead, it was he just knew he should have intercepted the ball. And,
exactly.
And he's right. He should have. Zach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to see less, less just zone coverage or whatever on Pittman. Like, something's got to happen with Pittman where you put an emphasis on making sure that you take that weapon away. Because when you take that weapon away from the Colts offense, and you're doing, you basically don't have anybody else to worry about. I know that they're going to let passes probably go in front of them to Zach Pascal or Jack Doyle or Mo Alley Cox, but I don't feel like they're really emphasizing a way or a method to stop Michael Pittman. It just seems like he's kind of either open or he's got the mismatch that the Colts want him to have, which is good on the Colts, right? That's the whole point of some of these offensive play callers is to get mismatches when they do motion, stuff like that. So good for them. I want to see Pittman stopped.
Well,
Yeah.
you want to see him deploy that same sort of strategy that the kind of the Titans are, because the Colts are very similar on offense to what the Titans are. They have a running back, which is what their offense runs through, and they have one wide receiver on the outside without Julio Jones. The Titans are, so you'd like to see them take him away. Look, Frank Reich came out with a brilliant game plan. We talk about it all the time on the Coach's Corner. We talk about the scripted plays, those first few plays, including even when they had the interception to get right back down the goal line. Frank Reich came out with a brilliant game plan, running that motion against man coverage down there to create a switch release on your rookie nickelback. I probably lost like half our listeners right there, but it's fine. Trust me when I say they schemed open a lot of things there.
Yes.
And the Titans have really settled down since then. Outside of those first two drives, I know they've given up 17 points, but outside of those first two drives, they've given up those 3 points. They're coming up with those stops. I think the Titans are in a good spot here at this point if they can come out here and continue to move the ball, matriculate the ball down the field. They've been a little mercurial. I missed it. I missed it on our Coach's Corner, so I had to get in on this show. So I think the Titans are in a good spot. Last thoughts here. Let's start with Zach.
Got to score this drive. I think you need to get this Indy crowd out of the game, and by doing that is you got to score on this drive on the opening kickoff.
And I'll take a score however and get it, but I would like to see a longer drive to try to really wear on the Colts and to really assert, because I think that's the other thing too, is I think this Titans team to start games and start halves needs that dominant, long-standing drive to really set their tone for themselves. So now you have your second chance in the second half to do that. And defense, like we said, keep doing what you're doing for the most part. Little wrinkles, should be good.
Yeah, I think the Titans are in a good spot. I think you really want points on this next drive, but it's not the end of the world if they don't get it, because they're only down 3. Holding them out of the end zone for the rest of this first half, outside of those first 2 drives, big accomplishment by that defense. And we know Derrick Henry likes to try and take over this game in the second half, even with a broken ankle. Who knows? He doesn't have a broken ankle. I don't want to put that out there. I feel like I need to retract it. So ultimately, thank you all for joining the Halftime Hits, brought to you by Broadway Sports Media. Check us out at BroadwaySportsMedia.com. I am Jonathan at JB on Broad, Ryan at Ryan on Broadway, and Zach Lyons at FWordsPod on Twitter. Make sure you're checking all our great content. And we also have great merchandise you can check out as well. So enjoy the second half, and happy Halloween, everybody. Let's get spooky.